Hey buddies, it's Dylan from the Buddy Force here, and welcome back to the channel for another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my deck profile for Subterror Guru Control, and this deck single-handedly has gotten me to Platinum 4, and I intend it to take me all the way to Platinum 1. With that being said, let's get right into the deck profile. Okay, so we've got the deck right here, and I know what some of you are thinking right off the top of your head. Dylan, that's a lot of ultra rares. Can I make this deck with free to play? And honestly, I think you can, but just in case, I am also going to give you guys a couple of budget alternatives that you can use instead. So I don't know how they organize the cards. I want to say it's by level, which is kind of weird. I don't actually know how to properly sort the deck, so we're just going to go through this in an arbitrary order that I think is right, but let's get right into it. Starting off, we have 3 Subterror Guru. The deck revolves around this card. It's the name of the deck. It's Guru Control. And what this card does is that when it is flipped face up, you can add 1 Subterror card from your deck to the hand, and then it's got a secondary effect where you can target 1 other card on the field, flip both this card and that card face down, and if you control another Subterror card when you activate this effect, it becomes a quick effect. Next, we've got Subterror Fiendus, which is the negate of the deck. It is the Omnigate. Whenever your opponent activates a card or effect, send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and then change a Subterror monster you control to face down and negate the activation. Actually, one thing to point out, based on the way that the card is worded, it's negate the activation, then change the targeted monster to face down defense position. So, if you activate Fiendus targeting a face-up Guru, if for some reason the Guru gets flipped face down in that same chain, Fiendus will still resolve and negate the activation. You just need to have a face-up Subterror card when you activate her effect. Next up, we have Subterror Nemesis Archer. She is really good at getting rid of some of the harder to get rid of monsters on the field, other than Link monsters, but you'll see why. At the start of the damage step, if it attacks an opponent's face-down defense position monster, and you control another Subterror card, you can shuffle that card back into your opponent's deck. Then, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Subterror monster from your deck in face-up or face-down defense. This card is really good at getting rid of some of those bigger monsters that aren't Links, obviously, because Links can't go in face-down defense. What I find myself using it with most is Eldritch. Anytime my opponent summons the Golden Lord, I can use Guru effect to flip it face down, and then I can use Nemesis Archer to shuffle it back into that deck. Next, we've got the 2 big boys. These are both Subterror Behemoth cards. First things first, all Subterror Behemoth cards have the same 2 effects, or at least these guys do. One is when one of your face-up monsters is flipped face down and you no longer control any face-up monsters, you can special summon these from your hand. They also have an effect where once per turn, you can flip this face-up card into face-down defense position. Now, both of those effects are super important, and along with those 2, they each have a flip effect. First up is Strix. Strix, when it flips up, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and banish it. This card's also pretty good when it comes to getting rid of monsters. Yes, it does target, but it does not have to be a face-up monster. So if you use Guru effect to flip a monster face down, you can then use Strix to target that face-down monster and banish it. Next up is Voltelleric. Voltelleric's effect is you can target 1 set monster your opponent controls, and you can take control of it until your next end phase. I will be completely honest with you, I almost never use this card's effect. I think I've used it once, and it was just out of pure randomness. The real reason we're running this card is because of this bad boy right here. Some of you love him, some of you hate him. It's Thunder Dragon Colossus. That's right, in this game, Thunder Dragon Colossus is at 1, and we are taking full advantage of that. Thunder Dragon Colossus reads, you can special summon this card during the turn a Thunder monster's effect was activated in the hand by attributing 1 Thunder effect non-fusion monster. So, the way that it would work is that if you had Guru on the field, you could use its effect to flip your card and one of your opponent's cards face down, or if you control 2 monsters, use Guru to flip them both face down. When that happens, you'll be able to activate Voltelric's effect in hand to special summon it itself in face-up defense position, and then you can tribute it off for Colossus since Voltelric is a Thunder. Yes, you can make Thunder Dragon Colossus in Guru. Yes, it's busted. And yes, I want Colossus back to 1 here in the TCG. For the spells, we can go through this really quickly. We've got the 1 Terraforming. We've got 2 Pot of Duality, 3 Pot of Prosperity, 3 Hidden City, and 1 Cave Clash. Hidden City is the field spell for the deck. The Hidden City has 3 effects. First one is when it's activated, you can add 1 Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. The second effect is that you can target a face-down Subterror monster you control and then flip it up into either face-up attack or defense position. And the third effect, which I feel like everyone forgets about, if my duels in ranked have anything to say for it. Once per turn, when your opponent declares an attack and you have a face-down Subterror monster, you can flip it up and then negate the attack. I personally feel like everybody forgets about this. The amount of times that I've had people try to attack over my face-down Guru, only for me to activate Hidden City to negate, and then I get Guru's search effect off, it's absolutely insane. Then we run the 1 Cave Clash. This gives all Subterror monsters you control 500 attack and defense for every set monster on the field. It has another effect where once per turn, if a Subterror monster you control inflicts battle damage, you can add 1 Subterror card from your graveyard back to your hand. This is really good for being able to recur your Fienduses, or if any of your other cards like Guru or Final Battle get popped, you can add those back as well. Finally, onto the traps, we got Final Battle. Final Battle technically has 5 effects, and all of them are pretty darn good. The first one is that after you activate this card, you can set it back face down. This allows you to use this card every single turn, and the best part is that Subterror Final Battle, none of the effects are a hard once per turn, which means if you have multiple copies of them face down, you can just keep on activating them, and it's absolutely nuts. The first effect is that you can change 1 set Subterror monster on your field into face-up attack or defense position. The second one is you can target 1 face-up Subterror monster you control and switch it into face-down defense position. The third effect is that the attack and defense of 1 Subterror monster you control on the field becomes equal to its combined original attack and defense until the end of this turn. So for example, let's say you have Subterror Guru. If you activate the third effect of Final Battle on Subterror Guru's attack and defense will both become 3,400. And then lastly, we've got the fourth effect where this turn activated effects of Subterror cards cannot be negated. If you activate the last effect of Subterror Final Battle, cards like Ash, Call by the Grave, Effect Veiler, Imperm, Chalice, none of them will affect your monster. Next up, we've got Heavy Storm Duster. Heavy Storm Duster targets 2 spell or trap cards on the field and pops them, and then you just can't conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card, but it's a trap card, so you end up activating it on your opponent's turn anyways. I play this in the main because considering we are in a best of 1 format, better to have spell and trap removal in the main than to not have it at all, considering how popular Eldritch is as a deck in ranked. Next up, we have Infinite Impermanence. Most of you guys should already know what this does. Next, we got 1 copy of Solemn Judgment, 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. Honestly, I have won most of my duels because of There Can Be Only One. Each player can only control 1 monster of each type. Then, if they have 2 or more monsters of the same type, they've got to send enough to grave to where they only control 1. This is really good against Eldritch, which is the deck that I mentioned before, and just a lot of other decks right now in the meta and in Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. All of the monsters tend to be the same type, but for Subterrors that is not the case. We've got Dragon, Spellcasters, Reptile, Thunder, and Fairy for the Subterror cards. One thing to note is that you can still summon Colossus even if you have a There Can Be Only One on the field, and here's how. Subterror Behemoth Voltelric will activate its effect to special summon itself from the hand to the field, making it legal to summon out Colossus. Then you can activate Voltelric's effect to switch it into face-down defense position, and you can actually send the face-down defense position Voltelric to summon a Colossus. So you can still summon it out even if you have There Can Be Only One on the field. And lastly, we have Crackdown. Crackdown, for those of you who are just getting back into the game, is like a trap card version of Mind Control, where you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of that monster, and while you control that monster, it cannot attack or activate its effects. And then when that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. Now, a really cool interaction between Crackdown and this deck is that if you take control of your opponent's monster, as long as it's not a link, you can use Guru's effect to flip itself and that monster face down. And once you flip that monster face down, it's no longer tied to Crackdown, where Crackdown will still stay on your field, but it'll no longer be connected to that monster. So once you flip that monster back up, it's yours. You can attack with it, you can activate its effects, and if your opponent ends up destroying the Crackdown, it won't do anything to that monster. Cool little tidbit for those of you guys who didn't know. So that's pretty much it for the main deck. Let's go over some of the budget alternatives that I can think of. Maxi is probably one of the most divisive cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Either you absolutely hate it or you absolutely love it. Now, if you do buy the bundle deal, you do get a free Ash Blossom, so I would recommend at least running that one. But if you don't feel like crafting the other two, you can always fill it with other cards you need. You could put in a second Strix. You can put in any other hand trap or traps you want. Same thing goes for Max C. If you don't want to put these three in, you could put in cards like Trap Trick, or even Summon Limit would do the same thing. Summon Limit is only a super rare, and it also works very well in this deck. The other thing I would say is that if you don't feel like going out and crafting a Colossus, take out the Voltelleric and the Colossus, and you can just throw in a second Strix. Okay, on to the extra deck. So I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. There's only 4 cards in this extra deck that I actually care about. The rest is pretty much just fodder for Pot of Prosperity. The 4 cards that I care about are Entis, Colossus, Makaba, and Cyber Dragon Nova. You guys already know why I care about Colossus, and the other 3 are for the Dogmatica matchup. For those of you who don't know, in the Dogmatica deck, there is a card that makes both players send 2 cards from their extra decks to the grave. The 2 cards that you would send off of that are Nova and Entis. Entis has an effect where if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. So when your opponent makes you send it, that's a free pop on your end. Cyber Dragon Nova, on the other hand, is when it's sent to your graveyard by your opponent's effect, you can special summon 1 machine fusion monster from your deck, and Makaba happens to be a machine fusion monster. All these other cards really don't matter. The only reason that they are in here is because I either think they're a little bit useful or I pulled them. Like, I pulled the IP, I pulled the Dweller, Castell, Anima. You don't have to play any of these cards. You can already see that I have some filler in here. Never once am I ever going to go into Kachikochi Dragon, Decode Talker, or Akashic Magician, or definitely Link Spider. But you guys can either throw in what you have or just fill it up with fodder, because I've never used any of these. The only cards that I would recommend getting if you have the tokens to craft it, or if you've pulled it, is the Nightmare Cerberus and Phoenix. These cards are just really good utility cards that can be used in almost any situation, and it really works nicely when you activate Crackdown to take your opponent's monster, especially if you take one of their Link monsters. Since it's still connected to Crackdown, if they pop that Crackdown, they're taking their Link monster back, so I tend to try to link it off. One of the other cards that you can switch out for a budget alternative is Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is an ultra rare in this game, and considering if you're going to play it, you should probably play 3. It is a pretty pricey addition to the deck. So as a substitute, I would recommend Forbidden Chalice. Forbidden Chalice lets you target a face-up monster on the field until the end of turn. It gains 400 attack, and its effects are negated. Sure, it's not as good as Impermanence, but considering that Chalice is a rare, I would say that it's a pretty good budget substitute. One of the things I'm already doing in this deck that is sort of budget is, normally I would want to play 3 Crackdown, but I instead decided to go for 2 Crackdown and the 1 Solemn Judgment, just so that I didn't have to craft the 3rd Crackdown. You get the Solemn Judgment in one of the bundle deals, so I would recommend using that. I've got one more substitute for you guys, and that's if you don't want to craft an Elder Entity Entis, because, like I said, this is only here in case you go up against Dogmatica, and that might be not a good enough reason for people to be crafting an ultra rare. I would suggest Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. Fossil Warrior Skull Knight has a very similar effect where you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one monster on the field, destroy it. Pretty much the same as Entis. The only difference is that Entis can target any card, and it's also a trigger that happens right when it's sent to grave, whereas with Fossil Knight, it has to be a monster, and you have to manually activate this card. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We are making so much more Master Duel content for you guys, and let us know what kind of content you'd like to see. Would you like to see more deck profiles? Would you like to see more pack openings? Please let us know in the comments down below. Anyways, I hope you guys stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.